Is Game Pass in trouble? Let's take a look ahead at some of the challenges for Xbox's golden goose and what they can do to overcome them. Just a reminder, if you take a look down at the description below, I have links for all sorts of Xbox gear. I've been talking a lot about the ultimate wired Xbox controller by 8BitDo. That's down there as well. You can buy it through Best Buy. If you want to get in on this new generation of Xbox cloud gaming, I also have some links for some Samsung TVs that support the Xbox Game Pass app that they're coming out with. Let's discuss. So chances are, if you're watching this video, whether you're a fan of my channel or you're an Xbox fan stumbling across my content for the first time, you know what the hell Game Pass is, right? But if you're someone out there who for some reason doesn't know, this is for you. So Game Pass is a service that Microsoft offers where in exchange for a monthly fee, they give you access to a library of games and content. It's often been referred to as the Netflix of video games because the premise is pretty much the same, right? You pay someone a monthly fee, you get their content in exchange for as long as you pay for that subscription. Now, Game Pass is arguably Xbox's most valuable asset right now. You can say it's their X factor, huh? Sorry, guys. I could probably take it a step further and say Game Pass saved the Xbox brand and enabled this comeback that we're seeing with the Xbox Series X and S. Sure, Microsoft has made some other really crazy moves, like all these acquisitions, Zenimax Media, for example, this agreement that they've entered with Activision Blizzard to acquire all their stuff, and of course, all the cloud streaming, all that stuff, that's all good. But Game Pass, that's where it's really at, right? And as far as the acquisitions go, we really haven't seen the fruits of those labors so much, other than, you guessed it, all of those acquisitions libraries being added to Game Pass. I don't think it's a stretch to say that Game Pass is carrying Xbox this generation, and it's definitely gone a long way in narrowing the sales gap between PS5s and Xbox Series consoles, definitely doing a hell of a lot better than last generations, where PS4 sold like, what, 114 million and counting, and Xbox One sold like 55 million or something like that? It was like a 2-to-1 difference. I personally think Game Pass is great, but y'all know that because I talk about it pretty much every video, and I know a lot of you out there seem to agree with that statement. But like every popular thing, it has its fair share of haters, of course. Some pretty notable people have come out and said that Game Pass is destroying the video game industry, it cheapens the value of games, and something I see on Twitter, Reddit, social media, things like that, is this notion like, oh, I would gladly pay full price $70 for a game instead of playing it on Game Pass because I actually like to support the developers. This is something I've always been curious about whenever I see, and then I remembered, wait a minute, Ray, you have friends now that work in video game development in the industry. Some of them you've known for like 8-10 years going on. So I decided to text those friends and I basically said, yo, do you receive any financial compensation depending on how well a game that you've worked on sells? And one of those friends was like, well, I'm a salaried employee at the studio I work at, but I do not have a bonus in my contract wherein I get more money depending on how many copies of the game I worked on sells. But he does say that there are some people in the industry who do have that bonus clause. And then my other friend was like, well, on the game that I worked on, I was considered an independent contractor, so no way am I seeing any financial kickback on the copies sold. I then straight up asked them, hey, what are your thoughts on Game Pass? They were like, yeah, I really like Game Pass. It's a great way to try out games at a low cost. The only negative thing they had to say about it was that once he starts a title on Game Pass, he doesn't feel as obligated to see it through and play it all the way through because he didn't spend $60, $70 on it. They also said, like a lot of these streaming services that we see, there's choice paralysis almost. Like there's so many titles on Game Pass, on these subscription services, that they can't settle on one. And that was really the only negative things they had to say about Game Pass. So this idea that these developers, at least in my very, very, very small circle of friends who work in the industry, this notion that they hate Game Pass, that they think it's destroying the industry, was not true. Another argument against Game Pass is that it's essentially a money sink, that there's no way that they can operate any company, they can operate a service like that and have it be profitable. The prevailing idea is that Microsoft, that it's such a huge company, it doesn't really matter if Game Pass is losing money. They could just absorb that because they have a huge market cap. I know Phil Spencer a while back in an interview, he said, I know that there are a lot of people who like to write, we're burning cash right now for some future pot of gold at the end. No, Game Pass is very, very sustainable right now as it sits and continues to grow. But he could just be saying that, right? Like, would anyone involved with Game Pass, especially if someone as big as Phil Spencer, come out and truly say, yeah, guys, Game Pass, we're losing like a ton of money? Unfortunately, Unfortunately, it's a little hard for people like you and me to determine if Game Pass is profitable right now because Xbox, they don't release a lot of numbers. They don't release a lot of sales numbers for hardware or consoles. The last time we heard, Game Pass, in as far as the beginning of 2022 in January, was sitting at 25 million active subscribers. And that was up from 18 million the previous January, so they got a total of 7 million new subscribers. So the cheapest Game Pass subscription is $10 a month. That's the Game Pass just standard package. And then you have the $15 a month Game Pass Ultimate. For $10 a month, I can assume that Microsoft Xbox Game Pass makes at least $250 million a month. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, well, that doesn't take into account all of like the free introductory months that they give out for promotional purposes for Game Pass, or all the guys that stack their $1 monthly Game Pass subscriptions and turn them into Ultimate. I'm just saying, for the sake of this video, I'm going to assume that Game Pass makes at least $250 million a month, which sounds like a lot, right? $250 million a month, that is like way beyond the scope of what normal people would experience, right? Well, you also have to take into account, of course, how much it takes to maintain a service like Game Pass with the servers, and also what it takes to market it, and also what it takes to keep the games on the service. And again, it's unfortunate because there's no numbers regarding any of that in terms of what Microsoft spends on any of what I just said. The closest I could find is Netflix costs to operate, and apparently they spend almost $10 million a month on lead generating services that they get through Amazon. I found this article saying that from 2011 to 2021, they spent about $1 billion in developing their own servers so they can always be running and they never crashed. So what, that works out to $100 million a year, but of course that's the cost to develop the servers, not to maintain them. I'm sure that there's a huge cost on top of that as well. Last year, they also spent $17 billion on content, whether it was developing their own, making sure Winona Ryder had a fat check to come back for Stranger Things, or to just keep third-party stuff on their service as well. But if Game Pass's expenses are anywhere near what Netflix spends on their stuff, we can assume that at 25 million subscribers, as it is right now, that they may or may not be profitable. Bottom line, Xbox needs more subscribers to Game Pass if they want A, more money, or B, to fulfill their company's goal of having more people all around the world experience the Xbox ecosystem. They apparently have a goal to reach 3 billion players with Game Pass, with cloud gaming, with these apps that they're rolling out, with Project Keystone, and that's pretty ambitious. This whole strategy of getting just more people to experience Xbox games, I think it's pretty smart on their part. I think they realized something last generation where it was going to be kind of hard if they were going to go in a traditional console battle with PlayStation, sell the consoles and then sell the games. It was going to be a little bit of a slog if they were going that route. So they were like, okay, let's shift a little bit. Let's get crafty with it. Let's not just focus on console sales, but how else can we get people to experience our games, our products, subscribe to our services? One of those ways is releasing all of their games on PC as well. And that's pretty smart because obviously that's a huge part of the gaming market. And also, as they continue to build up this cloud gaming experience, launch it to a wider audience, not just lock it to 2022 Samsung TVs, we'll start to see more of that. I feel like if the subscriber base doesn't grow by more than 7 million by the next time we hear a new subscriber number from Game Pass, Microsoft is going to be pretty disappointed. What can they do to drive subscriber growth? Well, the obvious answer is keep adding quality games that people want to play. Since the Xbox Bethesda showcase, we now have a pretty rough idea of what's going to be coming to the service over the next 12 months. But if you look at the games list from the showcase, you'll notice one glaring issue, and that's the absence for the rest of 2022 of any Xbox first-party title. Will that affect subscriber growth? If you open up Twitter, Reddit, social media, you'll probably see a lot of takes saying that, well, the delay of Redfall and Starfield from 2022 to 2023 is enough to sink Game Pass's value and to kill Xbox forever. Me, personally, I think Game Pass has enough juice left in the tank in order to keep people entertained through 2022. And I'm not excusing the lack of first-party titles in 2022. It's not a good look, I'll admit it, but that hasn't stopped me from enjoying my Game Pass membership and playing other games that are not Xbox first-party titles. Also, some of these delays are just out of their control, right? There's crazy stuff going on in the world affecting game production. Looking ahead to the holiday season, Xbox Game Pass is really going to start heating up in October. From what we know so far, we're getting High on Life, which is Justin Roiland's new game coming out, the guy who made Rick and Morty, of course, and it looks just like that. It looks like a Rick and Morty first-person wacky shooter. I can't wait to play this game. We're also getting a Plague Tale Requiem, which is the highly anticipated sequel to A Plague Tale Innocence, and I loved that game. I really enjoyed it. Plague Tale Innocence is on Game Pass right now, and while yes, it has some annoying follower elements like from Resident Evil 4, like from God of War, like from Last of Us, all of that stuff, I really enjoyed the story and the setting of it. Overwatch 2 is officially launching on October 4th, and yes, I know that's not like a Game Pass game, but it's going free to play and I'm still super excited for it. And finally, Persona 5 Royal is coming to Game Pass October 21st, and not only that, we're also getting Persona 4 Golden and Persona 3 Portable. Persona 5 Royal will give you at least 100 hours of gameplay, at least. And it comes with all the DLC that's been put out for the game. You get to enjoy all of that as part of your Game Pass subscription. And yes, I know the big story is that Atlus is bringing Persona to all platforms, so Switch, Xbox. Overall, I think the Persona franchise coming to not only Xbox consoles but to Game Pass is a huge win for subscribers, and it's nice to see that Microsoft has a decent enough relationship with Atlus to make something like that happen. But between now and October, there's really not many details in terms of what's coming to the service. We'll probably have to wait until it gets closer to those months to see what the full lineup is. One of the more underrated things that's coming this winter, I'm pretty sure in December, is this partnership that Game Pass has with Riot Games. This winter, anyone who has PC Game Pass gets all champions, agents, and foundations for League of Legends Wild Rift, League of Legends Runeterra, Teamfight Tactics, and Valorant. Again, I think this has flown under the radar a little bit. I don't think people are giving it as much attention as it should. I feel like this could be a huge moneymaker for Xbox over on the PC side. It's definitely a great way to score brownie points with that community. And depending on how well those games do and how popular they are on PC Game Pass, maybe Riot Games will consider maybe bringing Valorant to Xbox consoles if it does really well on PC Game Pass. I don't know, just spitballing here. But Ray, if the good stuff isn't coming to October, winter, what's stopping me from canceling my Game Pass subscription now and then coming back in those months? That's the beauty of these things, guys. If you see a lineup that's not particularly interesting to you, you think it's not worth your money, you're totally free to cancel your subscription like I just said and then come back when there's something that does interest you. For me personally, I think they've done enough to keep Game Pass subscribers entertained for the rest of the year and hold them off until they get some much needed reinforcements in 2023. That's when we're supposed to get Starfield, Redfall, Ark 2, Diablo 4. Supposedly 2023 is supposed to be poppin' for Game Pass subscribers. What are some other things they can do? Well, I took to Twitter to ask you guys, and there were some pretty decent ideas thrown around. First off, some of y'all said it would be really cool if there was some reward system that rewarded you for playing games through Game Pass. Why'd I say Game Pass like that? And you get some sort of monetary reward that you can use towards buying things in game or buying extra months of Game Pass. Something like that already sort of exists with Microsoft Rewards, but I agree it would be nice if it was integrated into the Game Pass app itself and not a separate app with Microsoft Rewards. Next up on the list that you guys brought up was a family plan for Xbox Game Pass. Now, this is something that other streaming services do, but Xbox Game Pass doesn't for some reason. But they did announce it like late March, early April, that a family plan was coming sometime in the winter. Some numbers that have been thrown around were saying that the family plan would cap out at like $25 for up to 5 people on a plan. And yeah, that's a little bit more expensive than the $15 a month Game Pass Ultimate subscription. If you split it amongst 5 people, that's a steal. Xbox and Game Pass have had their fair share of struggles this year. It's obviously never fun to announce that some of your biggest games are being delayed. That's obviously a huge bummer. And while 2022 might not have the same hype that the back-to-back releases of Psychonauts 2, Forza Horizon 5, Halo Infinite, that time period that we had over Game Pass, that was crazy. Me, personally, my opinions, you may think differently. I think they've done enough to maintain subscriber growth through 2022 until they get some serious reinforcements in 2023.